Now that I've added 2 textures of grass to the flatter areas of my terrain, I'm now ready to start adding trees. We'll do that with the Paint Trees tool here. This is the 3rd button. Notice that there are no trees defined, so the first thing we'll need to do is go and find some trees in our standard assets. So we'll click on Add Tree here, and we'll click on the little nipple here for the game object, and scroll down to the prefab of, there's several trees in here, including a conifer desktop, so we'll double click on that to add that, and we'll click on the Add button. Same as before, we'll turn down our brush size, turn down the tree density. It's really easy to kind of get carried away with trees. If you put them in too dense, it really slows your system down and it causes other problems. You can choose a tree height or randomize it. You can lock the width to the height, and then go ahead and choose a brush, and notice that as you click, it'll start to add trees. And I recommend adding trees to the flatter and semi-hilly portions of your terrain. If you hold down the mouse, it probably will paint in too many trees. So like we did before, you can press the Shift key to remove the trees. So I'm clicking down at the base of the trees to remove them, and then kind of clicking and moving around the terrain so that I don't get too many trees. Notice that the grass will disappear until you kind of move closer into it. There are 3 different types of trees I believe you'll have with your standard assets. So let's go ahead and move in, and then let's show you the other type of tree. So we're going to edit trees again, and then add another tree. And I think there's a broadleaf tree that you have available. There's the broadleaf tree. I'll click on that and add it. And those trees look like this in comparison to the conifer trees. So probably the broadleaf trees are going to be lower in the terrain, and then in the higher, steeper parts, probably more of your conifers will be there. So here in the flat area, I'll put a rather sparse collection of conifers and broadleafs, and then up on the higher slopes, probably go with more of your conifer trees. So again, you can click each one you want to choose here, and we'll just kind of paint them in. And again, I wouldn't go with the real steep parts of it. I'd leave that as rock or scree, but certainly the more gentle upper slopes, that's will be a good place to put the conifers. And then notice you can put in a sampling of the broadleaf trees as well. And this gives you total control over how many trees you have and where they are. And just take your time. Remember, you can always go back and change the texture. If you zoom all the way in, you can see that the grass and the trees will be interspersed together. Here I don't have any grass at all, so you may want to go ahead and go back to the grass tool and put some grass in underneath the trees. So between the two of them, you can pretty much cover up your terrain, make it look more realistic, and then go back and forth between the terrain tools, the textures, the trees, and the grass to kind of fill out your environment. Later on, we'll show you ways to add these grass and tree elements procedurally. In other words, you won't have to place them individually. You'll just tell the program between these 2 heights, place this percentage of trees. But doing it by hand first is a good way to kind of learn, because after you place the trees procedurally, you'll probably want to go in and remove and add trees. So remember, just hold the Shift key, and that will remove either grass or trees, both broadleaf and conifer trees, to get the densities that you really want. It's time consuming, and so you'll probably want to learn how to do this procedurally, but for now, it's good practice to learn how to be very precise with the placement of your trees. Remember, you've also got the brush size settings, the density settings. So I can go with the bigger brush size. If you zoom way out and then create a larger brush, you can very quickly add and also remove trees where you don't want them, thin them out a little bit, and then zoom in to make sure that everything is good. You may find that you've got some trees on the steeper terrain that you want to remove, so you can therefore change your brush size, bring it down, and if you see any trees hanging on the cliffs, you can remove them, or perhaps trees that are going to be in the water where you don't want them. So in this way, just kind of go through and very patiently blanket the areas with the trees that you want. And I'm just kind of mixing up the trees again, putting more of the conifer, the pine trees in the higher elevations, with a mix of broadleaf trees, maybe fewer in the higher elevations and more of them in the lower elevations. But go ahead and experiment with different trees. You can also bring in more trees from other assets to add a little bit more interest. And when you're done, you probably want to bring in a first-person controller and then walk around your terrain so you can really see firsthand your handiwork and notice the mixture of the grass and the trees, and go through the terrain and see if there's anything that looks funny or if there's bare patches that you want to fill up. And again, it may be easier to go through and start walking around because you can then see the grass. Notice as you get closer to the ground, the grass comes up. So it's just easier to kind of see what you've got.